Okay, so, right. When last we left, so let's see, okay. Tetsuo raped Yoji in the rain, and then, Yoji, a bunch of little meat monsters, meat blobs came out of, Yoji's butt in his house, and crawled around his house and fucked up his fish. Tetsuo brought him some stew, then Tetsuo, hit Zenya,
Headset's gone again, Cherry Doom.
oh my god, my fucking headset. Why is it doing this to me? Okay. Tetsuo hit Zenya and got sent home, so Yoji brought him his homework, and got roped into staying for dinner by Tetsuo's mom, and it was awkward. But Tetsuo and Yoji have like started talking. He held an umbrella over him while it was raining. He apologized for being so rough because that fixes it. And Makoto's getting really mad. He's super jealous, and he showed up at Yoji's apartment and was like, "Why am I not good enough?" And it was very sad. And he's obsessed. And Yoji's just a dumb idiot, like, "What's wrong, Makoto?" And he can't seem to figure out what the fuck is going on. Okay, helmet condenser.
This one was blue.
Okay. High velocity, skip. And I'm doing this because the game is corrupt, or the save, after a certain point you can't save. It crashes the game when you try to load it, so I basically have to go through high velocity and pick all the choices again. Okay, let me write this down. Blue. And then this is on the roof.
Red.
Red. Writing that down. Yes, we have been fucked. This was reason? Or was it red?
This was blue again. Basically, from this point out, unless Tetsuo's there, it's gonna be blue.
Okay. We have been fucked. This is blue. Blue. We have been fucked.
And it was bad.
It was not a happy fucking though. I don't think.
Fucking also implies consent.
Well, I mean, in some definitions. This is a red.
Yep.
He flailed his arms around wildly. This is blue, I guess?
Yep.
Blue.
I like how Makoto is complaining about not being good enough when only like days before he was going, wait a minute, I don't even know anything about this guy.
Well, I mean, he feels like he's not good enough because Yoji won't share anything, and he's hanging out with Tetsuo all the time. Instead of telling him stuff.
I'm sorry, Makoto, you can't be liked by everybody.
Man, there's a lot of skipping happening. Oh, another thing is that sometimes this game crashes when it's doing the high velocity skip. Let's see. Okay, sorry for the late reply. Still stuff happening. So, I can't remember what happened. I think it was just that Makoto had just left after yelling at Yoji about not being good enough. More of this. Gosh. If only I could save properly. This was Tank.
Whoa,
Oh,
we skipped a choice.
We did?
Yeah, because there was one more choice that we had to make for Tetsuo, and now we're all the way to where I haven't seen it before.
Uh-oh. Maybe I fucked up and we're in a different path? Maybe. Well, anyway. This was red.
Okay.
Tank. I have these notes now. There's the fish exploding.
Why are they exploding?
Because the meat monster got in there and touched a fish.
What? Oh, so the little meats are like some sort of
One of the fish
destroying entity?
I guess so. One of the meat blobs got into the tank, and then one of the fish like nibbled at it, and then it exploded into weird flesh flower thing.
Then Yoji doesn't find this interesting or suspicious.
It says he was a little surprised. Maybe if you picked reason, he would be suspicious, but this is red. This is Makoto yelling at Tetsuo. He's being like, he doesn't like you, okay? Just leave him alone. He doesn't like you. But he does like him, even though he raped him. Oh, a tangled web we weave. Mac and Tet. This is red. This is when Tetsuo gives him an umbrella walk home. And then another red. Rain. Mac. Okay. Skip. Okay, here we go. Not sure what he's picking up here. Oh, this is at the Okanaga residence. So who wants to read narration today? Anybody? No? Alright, me.
No,
Alright, let's
sorry.
go.
My mic was muted. That was weird. Thin white fingers scooped the source up, enclosing them in his palm before rolling them again.
These are the dice I think he's talking about. Oh, this is Zenya, so scienceman.
Late a night, crouched on the dining room floor by himself, Zenya was fiddling with the 2 dice. He'd roll them when he picked them up, and pick them up when he rolled them. He did nothing but repeat these motions. His eyes opened wide. He stared at the dice so hard, his gaze seemed to eat into them. It was the same. No matter how many times he did it, it never changed.
Whoops, sorry. Oh my god, my fucking headset!
Does it have... It's battery powered, right?
Yeah, but usually it will beep at me if it's going bad. I'll plug it in regardless. It's more like the wireless connection is breaking or something.
Can you switch to a different channel, or does it not support that?
It's not that kind of wireless.
Alas.
Anyway.
Yeah, no matter how many times he did it, never changed.
Those mic pops, Gordon, are hopefully going to be solved by plugging the mic in. Anyway. If nothing else, I'll switch to my fancy one that I still haven't used yet. Okay. That's Kitani, so I'll be that boy. I think it's supposed. I think this is just bad translation. I think this is supposed to be him saying like "young master," but sorry. Okay, but
it's just for you.
It's just incorrectly translated, and I don't like it. Hang on. I need to get a thing here. Alright.
Kitani had come into the dining room, looking at Zenya with a puzzled face.
Boy, what are you doing at this hour? This is
Take a
you.
look and you'll see.
Oh.
Answering in his mind, Zenya kept rolling the dice.
Right.
Or maybe that's me? Oh no. Whatever.
Maybe Kitani knew something.
There we go.
Kitani.
Yes?
Here, these dice. These seem a little weird somehow.
What does?
It's dice divination. I'm forecasting Yuji and Tetsuo's future, but take a look, okay? There's clearly something weird, no?
Huh.
There was confusion in Kitani's voice.
This is it doesn't look like there's anything strange about them.
At that reply, his hand stopped rolling the dice.
There's no way there isn't.
But
Are you looking closely? Look close. There's something weird.
Zenya snatched them up again, flinging them violently to the floor. The dice bounced and fell a short ways away. He leaned to gather them up and rolled them once again.
They didn't change.
change. Something was definitely weird. Shaking them as much as he could, he was becoming miserable. Always the same.
oh, this
When
is
I try to predict for Yuji and Tetsuo, I get the same number no matter how many times I do it. What the hell is going on?
sounds like it's predicting correctly. It's not gonna change his fate. Boy, do they really come up the same each time?
You can see so yourself.
To me. To me, the results seem different each time. Oh, weird. You crazy, Zenya.
That's a lie.
Zenya yelled out indignantly.
Alright, well,
So now he's gone crazy like his dad.
probably.
Maybe he just expects them to not be dice when he rolls them.
Maybe.
They're still dice!
He'd lost some weight. Yes, he lost weight from all this dice rolling. Zenya wouldn't eat and usually shut himself in his room. Kitani was vexed that there was nothing he could do. Zenya was scowling at Kitani when his expression suddenly contorted. Everyone is trash.
This is you. Science
What
fan.
is that face for? Do you think I'm pathetic? That I'm a worthless bit of trash?
I don't... Please relax.
Shut up!
Suddenly, Zenya's expression disappeared as if he'd blanked, a slow smile spreading on his lips.
I know it. Even if you won't say it, I know it.
This is you.
Worthless. Right.
Those
Those were the words that
Whatever.
had
Damn it!
me.
Ah, fuck! Fuck
It's
this
hard to
stupid
even
game!
fucking tell. 2 days ago. That one day, when he'd fought with Tetsuo, or rather been hit by him and sent home. Zenya had been waiting at the entrance for Tetsuo. He hadn't been planning on starting anything. He just wanted to mess with him a little. Because he hated Tetsuo so much. Zenya crept up to Tetsuo as he went through the entranceway, whispering in his ear.
Your beloved Yuji is a monster, you know.
Everybody.
Oh, this is Zenya again.
Yeah.
Everyone who gets close to him will go insane.
There you go.
So he's not someone you can be with. He's just a monster.
Just then, although he'd been expressionless until then, a dark light glinted in Tetsuo's eyes.
Who knows who's saying that? Who knows who's saying that?
Just when he noticed those eyes, he received a heated blow to the cheek. And another. Before he could even register, he'd been hit.
You!
Just as Zenya was about to hit him back, he was stopped by the students and teachers around him. He'd been annoyed that he couldn't counterattack. but there was part of him that was pleased with the circumstances. Even if it had been ever so little, he'd gotten some emotion out of Tetsuo. But what part of those whispered words had done it? He hadn't thought at all that he'd react like that. After that, he was taken back to the office and sent home by a homeroom teacher he couldn't even remember. And then, just as he left the office, he saw that man. The only man he clearly felt disgust for, aside from Tetsuo.
Kamiya?
It was fine when other people were around, but when it was just him and Zenya, he'd insulted him bluntly and ridiculed him. Until then, no matter how many times he bumped into him, he was careful to look away. So he'd pass through and pretend not to see him, even if they ran into each other in the hallway. But perhaps, since there was no one around, the man spoke to him. The man whispered a single words as they passed by. It was in a whisper only Zenya could have heard. The word pierced deep into his chest.
What is it? Oh, worthless. I think it might be Kamiya.
Zenya stopped in his tracks and whirled around. The man stopped as well, but kept his back to Zenya.
You're not the only male specimen.
Want to get hit again? Hit.
Holding back a laugh, the man started to walk again.
I'm fairly certain that the Kamiya, the teacher, has something to do with whatever weird experiment is going on, perhaps. Yep, his figure in a lab coat.
Yep, lab coat. Even the way the hem of his coat swayed seemed to be mocking him, and Zenya felt an anger rising from the pit of his stomach. So much that it crossed his limit and made his body begin to tremble.
Worthless.
That person knew so much about his worthlessness.
I
Zenya hung his head, covering his face with both hands.
Boy?
A low laughter slipped through the gap between his hands. It was funny. Just too funny.
I'm worthless, huh? Ha ha ha. Ha ha.
Zenya's shoulders were swaying slightly. Kitani looked down, averting his eyes as if he were trying to endure something. And then for a short while, a sorrowful laughter filled the room. The next day, the rain stopped, with only a modest few rays of sun peeking from between the clouds.
Alright, it's this lady's going to school. Good for him. Condition stable, his body isn't crazy. Hope it stays that way. He's looking
Makoto's talking with his friends. Makoto's probably ignoring him.
Yep.
Because he's so mad.
Oh no!
Poor Makoto, he's so sad.
But it was only a little bit for a short time. Tetsuo's profile. He must like staring at the scenery.
Incomprehensible profile.
He still didn't know much about Tetsuo. Who's this mysterious big boy?
Mysterious big boy. Yes, he's also a rapist.
Oh boy, Tetsuo's coming over. Shironuma. Oh, I'll be Yoji, so. Oh wait. No, that's, okay, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Shironuma.
Shoot.
Study.
What?
What I said yesterday about lunch.
Ah. Oh, that's right. Tetsuo, Kamiya's making Tetsuo tutor Yoji in chemistry.
Okay.
Come to think of it, he had a feeling he talked about showing his work. So he'd promised to do it at lunch? Since he'd been so hurried, he couldn't remember what they'd discussed. Gazes from throughout the classroom gathered on Yuji since Tetsuo had started talking to him of his own accord. Unable to take the feeling of being examined, Yuji stood without thinking.
For a bit.
Speaking to Tetsuo, he left the classroom. He thought they might go to the roof of the old school building. Since Tetsuo was conspicuous at the best of times, he stood out even if he didn't seem to think so. If he was going to tutor Yuji, it would be best to do it as far out of the public eye as possible. Ah, yes, the tutoring lessons. It's time to go to the big boy lessons.
I know what will make these tutoring sessions safe, with no witnesses whatsoever.
Yes.
Going to the roof. Here they are on the roof. Tetsuo stopped right beside him.
Tetsuo had convenience store food.
Do we do it
Do
here?
we do it? Yeah.
Yeah. Remembering the vibe in the classroom, he answered shortly. He didn't have to worry about other students noticing. Tetsuo glanced through the fence, then looked at Yuji once more.
But
you didn't
bring your stuff. Who's talking? Nobody knows. Oh yeah, okay, it was
Since
me.
he simply wanted nothing but to get away from the classroom. Now that he noticed, he'd forgotten to bring his writing supplies and textbooks.
Oh, Yoji, you dumbass. Now you just gotta have sex instead.
Embarrassed by his reckless conduct, he hung his head.
Oh, such reckless conduct.
Reckless yaoi conduct. Mods changed my name.
Or even worse.
He was older than Tetsuo.
Oh, you should be better than this.
He didn't
Sorry.
act as he
I'm
seemed, but it
changing
was
my
mortifying that Tetsuo was
Skype
more
status.
collective than he was.
As Yuji kept silent, Tetsuo said to the ground. He pulled out some bread from his convenience store bag. Did this mean the study was cancelled? That was logical.
Oh my god! They're eating
Tetsuo
bread now.
opened the wrapping of bread.
Who knows? He's giving him bread. He was eating, but he didn't want. He doesn't want to eat again. Who could have seen this? Okay. I don't need
What's
it.
wrong with his eyes?
He's got crazy eyelashes or something.
When he accidentally responded carelessly, the bread disappeared from his field of vision.
Why had the bread disappeared? Where had it gone? Are you mad?
You mad?
Who knows? Nope. Who knows?
Nope. Let's all speak in unison, because that will be the only
Tetsuo
way to
was
make
staring
it
at
make
him
sense.
fixedly. Yuji felt a bit of regret under that stare. Had he offended him by refusing a little roughly? Tetsuo leaned forward towards Yuji, gaze still locked. Oh my god.
Well,
Tetsuo was slowly raising his hand.
He was
He
going
was
to get
going
hit.
to get hit. Closing his eyes at
He's
once.
gonna
it was
get
about to
made
happen.
out with instead. His head moved from side to side. What?
Ooh,
Oh my.
that's the sound of love in the air. Listen to it.
What is Tetsuo looking at? Just like gazing over the top of Yoshi's head.
He's looking at a bird on the fence.
It's me.
It's you. You are the yaoi protagonist.
Petting him.
A few seconds had passed before he could notice.
What are you?
As he was caught by surprise, Tetsuo grabbed his arm, giving a hard pull.
Oh jeez.
Me.
whoa.
About to fall onto Tetsuo, he tried to stand, panicked, but an arm around him held him back.
Oh shit.
It's red because it's Tetsuo. It's always got to be red.
Okay.
Suddenly, his field of vision went black. A rough image, like a dilapidated film, started to play. Are we in Silent Hill now? The room he'd been forcibly taken to by Zenya, with a strange smell. Then he noticed Tetsuo lying there, injured.
And then. Ugh.
He remembered what had been constantly suppressed. He stiffened as a trembling fear crept up his body. It spread through his whole body, and he was close to screaming. But what stopped him was nothing other than Tetsuo's hand.
Look at those biceps. Wait,
He ruffled his
triceps?
hair again.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're triceps.
Okay.
It was different from the last time. slower, softer.
Oh my god, look at his hand! It's huge!
Whoa!
Oh, they're so deformed looking.
That is some serious yaoi hand.
Oh my god.
Look at look at
Yeah.
Tetsuo's left hand. Holy
Yeah.
shit. What is going
This-
on?
They're slowly
Uh,
getting better as this goes on.
Maybe this is part of the weird deformities of whatever weird non-human monster Tetsuo Yoji is.
Strangely, his dread faded bit by bit. His shallow breath settled, and the floor and sky on the rooftop returned to his vision. A quiet breeze blew, and he smelled the nice scent he was used to by now. Oh, how lovely. At last he was calm, surprised once he let out a small sigh. He was there, leaning on Tetsuo as he pet his head.
Aww.
It was abnormal. It wasn't a situation to relax in.
What are you doing?
Situation. Situation. The hand petting him stopped, but Tetsuo said nothing, and it started to move again. What on earth was he trying to do?
Pet him? Surely not.
He missed his chance to escape, so he stared up at the sky dispiritedly.
Aww.
He couldn't make anything out of why he'd done something like this suddenly, expressionlessly. He didn't get it. He simply didn't feel animosity or malice. Just like an animal. It was too troublesome to resist, so Yuji stayed that way for a while, chasing the clouds swept by the wind with his eyes. Lunch break had ended. For 5th period class, they were to listen to the priest's sermon, so the students in Yuji's grade all headed for the church.
Oh boy, I wonder
Yep.
if maybe there will be some important lore.
Somebody definitely needs God in this situation. Somebody needs Jesus. There are never many first years at Komanami, but even so, it turned clamorous when they got together. I'm gonna just call this school Konami from now on.
Why is everybody? Does that mean everybody's transfer students? I don't get it.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe all of the younger students have been eaten by meat monsters.
Maybe.
Free time in the courtyard, blah
blah
blah blah blah blah.
They started into the church. Boop.
Listen to that, and then everybody fell asleep.
Oh, alright, never mind. I thought there was going to be some religion talk. Oh boy, who is it? That might be... Who is that, I wonder?
Hey, Sakiyama.
That's the sort of voice they had. I can just hear it, the voice acting. Oh, it's a male student, okay.
So, I was wondering, what do you and Shiranuma talk about? He was lost for words at the abrupt question. The male student was looking at you, expression filled with curiosity. Looking at that face, disgust swirled in his heart.
We don't talk much.
Oh. A frank smile came to the student's face. It seemed he was surprised he got a response from Yuji. Recently, you two seem to be getting along, huh? There's no way you don't talk about anything when you're with each other. Also, I gotta mute for a second.
Alright. So,
how...
Okay.
Sorry. Urging him, the student grabbed Yuji's arm. Yuji gave him a look of protest. What was he doing asking about that? He couldn't understand what was so interesting.
What is it?
Lips crooked,
Oh.
looking uneasy, the student suddenly opened his eyes with...
Uh-oh.
He was looking over Yuji's shoulder.
Let's see.
Well, I'll be going on ahead. With a bitter smile, the male student hurriedly distanced himself from Yuji.
Who's behind him?
Looking behind him, he realized why he ran off.
Tetsuo!
Tetsuo was very nearby. Suddenly relieved, he immediately doubted himself. Why did he feel relief? Tetsuo drew near and walked beside him. Because of what had happened at lunch break, he was a bit uneasy.
What do we do?
About?
Studying.
In the end, he hadn't been able to show him his work at lunch break. Although he felt like dragging it out as long as possible, looking at the problem realistically, he wanted to catch up in class.
Will you... Tetsuo, maybe?
Will you come
Buh?
to my place?
Does that mean he'd go to Tetsuo's place and study?
I wonder.
The answer's no. Not happening. Not in this yaoi, young man.
Hey, they might.
Unable to answer, he looked at Tetsuo. He was met with a sharp gaze. But he didn't feel that coldness like he had until now for some reason. Maybe he'd gotten used to it. After school today. When Yoji gave up on answering, Tetsuo informed him in a low voice and sped up.
That was... Oh, God.
Oh.
Wait!
Ow. He tried to stop him, but Tetsuo had already slipped into the crowd of students ahead.
Man, this is getting harder and harder to figure out.
By the end, it's just going to be random words
Yeah.
in sequence.
Zenya's the only character that's making sense right now.
Yoji watched Tetsuo's back. Beautiful
Tetsuo's
boy
house.
walks away.
Whereas he remembered going to Tetsuo's house. There's his mom. They had a nice family dinner, and it was so
Oh,
weird.
he did go to
because-
Tetsuo's house.
Yeah, to
Okay.
give him the homework. I mentioned this, and they had
Yeah,
dinner.
okay.
He was very nervous. In school, they bothered to be but they wasn't the right decision. He remembered the maps of the classroom. Oh, uh-oh. It was Makoto.
Hooray!
Staring over with a serious look. No, it wasn't just serious, he looked angry.
Oh no.
Amongst the chatty students, Makoto alone was outlines with dark features. Yoji immediately turned the other way again. The afterimage of Makoto,
Oh, no.
soaking wet, flickered behind his
He's so
eyelid.
sad. Poor Makoto. I gotta do his path next, even though I know it's how it ends.
Really, what had Makoto done that for? Driven by anxiety, Yuji entered the classroom.
Tetsuo.
You understand this calculation? His long, dark finger pointed at the math problem. Holding his mechanical pencil, Yuji thought it over. Or rather, he was trying to. He couldn't concentrate. No matter what, his mind was all over the place. It was because of the situation, being tutored in Tetsuo's room. Beside him was Tetsuo, staring at the notebooks and texts spread out on a small table. As promised, he'd gone to Tetsuo's,
Obviously, yes,
and
that's
things
what happened.
happened.
There they are, the Tetsu's room, just like they said they would be, and here they are, just like they said they would be. And now they hear where they were. And the Tetsuo and him are studying. They remember they're studying, and then they're home alone. Nobody's here. They could do anything except study. Tetsuo's a good tutor. He's voicing key points. Great. He's...
This is a calculation. This is an answer.
There's...
Do you not get it?
Not really.
What don't you get?
Why does it balance out here?
Well, this answer is because...
Tetsuo, indifferent, gave concise answers, and even when Yuji repeated questions, he answered patiently.
This is almost, for some reason, making me nostalgic for solving chemistry problems.
I was never much for chemistry. My mom was a chemist, though.
Me either, but I was always really bad at it, but like once I actually applied myself and studied and did all the practice problems, it was really satisfying to like solve a problem correctly.
I never did chemistry. I did physics because I'm a boy.
I did chemistry and physics because I'm a man.
I did all of the above in high school, but none. Well, I did a lot of chemistry in college, but no physics, because I got no, I didn't, because I got a high grade on a statistics AP test, so I got college credit. Anyway,
And they progressed to a certain extent. Tetsuo looked up. I'll bring you
I'll
a
bring
drink. Stood with a quiet whisper, leaving the room. As soon as he heard the sound of the door closing, he let out a long exhalation. 35 minutes later.
He really isn't human. Okay.
Wet flopping sounds from the other room came.
He set his mechanical pencil down and looked up at the ceiling. Again. This now was really a thing of mystery. That day had come where he was studying in Tetsuo's room like this.
What? It's not like you were anticipating this.
No, Tetsuo is an insane rapist. Why would you anticipate this?
It's the guy who changed. What's going on? I wonder when Tetsuo's mother would return him. What? To the orphanage? Maybe? I don't know. Feeling a bit satisfied.
Your Tetsuo is a little broken, you might want to put him back in.
He was out of sync with society until a big boy came and swept him off his feet.
Turned into a
and
deep
also
hole. He
did bad
can't cope
things.
with his problems, but now he's got someone to hang out with. But now, oh, he's gonna fall asleep here on the bed.
He's gonna fall asleep in
Tetsuo's
the presence of
bed.
Tetsuo. Great.
He's a Tetsuo
It's happening
sense.
again.
What do you mean again? He's never fallen asleep in Tetsuo's presence.
No, it's just Tetsuo is going to be there and bad things are going to happen.
I might like him this time. Since he likes it now, he's probably
Tetsuo's such a nice boy.
been addicted to the sweet whatever smells.
Oh boy, he opened his eyes. Tetsuo's room is there. A weight is on his shoulder. The weight was the Tetsuo.
He's asleep too!
He has
It's
glasses.
fine, you guys. Everything's fine. It's all cute. And we finally get to see him in his dumb glasses.
Well-regulated breathing. I'm glad Tetsuo can regulate his breathing.
Well, yeah, that means he's asleep. Your breathing gets more even.
Yoji was flustered. He didn't move carefully.
Oh.
On the table there were 2 glasses of iced tea set
I don't
on
know
the tray.
how they managed to get into this position without Tetsuo waking up
Tetsuo just,
Yoji. Like,
No, he
slid
just like
in.
slid over.
Yeah.
Like he laid on the bed and then moved horizontally without even like wiggling at all. He just slid horizontally. The ice had melted. This means that a long time had passed. He learned about
what do
ice
we
melting from Metal Gear Solid 2.
do?
So if we go to the red zone, I'd say that we're most likely to get the big boy times. So that is what I would choose.
Are you going off of your walkthrough knowledge, or just?
No, I'm not. I'm just guessing at this point because I don't remember this part from the walkthrough.
Okay, well, what do you
It
think?
basically skips
Chat?
ahead.
What do you think? Should we go with reason, or I'm assuming I don't know. Instinct, maybe he'll make out with him, or maybe he'll, with reason, he'll just be like, "Wake up, you dumb idiot."
Maybe he's thirsty and instinct will make him go for the...
Instinct.
Instinct hasn't
Instinct makes
steered
him
us
guzzle
wrong
down
before.
2 glasses of iced tea. Yes.
All right, we're getting into a heavy red zone here. Sleepy Tetsuo Red.
Tetsuo's found a pet rabbit in Yuji and just keeps petting him too hard. Just going to pet the rabbits.
He looked at his face. He looked at the beautiful boy. Are we ready? When he looked closer, he could see his eyelashes were the same color as his hair.
Wow.
He thought he dyed it, but maybe it was natural.
Oh, he's European. So exotic in Japan.
He thought his sleeping face seemed defenseless. He gave the impression of being younger, although it was just that his eyes were closed.
Tetsuo does not seem the type of guy to dye his hair.
There wasn't that daunting aura or that wall that drove away others like at school. Maybe this could even be called his basic state of being. This is sleepy baby. That's his basic state. And now he's staring at him. It was strange. Oh no, the boy wakes up.
Oh no!
He's staring at him. He's staring a lot.
Oh my god.
Yuji was perplexed.
The G.
The G.
Oh,
The tea.
there. Yep. Sorry, I'm reading all the parts
Must
now.
have still been half
It's,
the way.
it's fine.
Surprised with Tetsuo acting in a way he hadn't seen before, he took one glass in his hand. Taking a sip, the condensation of the glass ran down his wrist.
Hang on, I want to look at how many choices we've gone through. And how many are left. Oh, there's a scene where Tetsuo is at his job. Cool. Nope, nope, these are all wrong. Stop it. There are no spoiler. Thank you. Let's see. Whoa, so many endings. How many endings? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow. Hang on, sorry. I'm just looking at these.
All of them good and happy.
Oh, there are none. None at
Oh.
all good and happy. Roof Tetsuo after school, partying with Tetsuo, Makoto's visit, nap, bed, duel. Hang on. Okay, I see. Nap. I guess we're at nap or bed.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh, wait. A second. You mentioned duel. Is this going to become Yu-Gi-Oh?
Maybe.
Perhaps it could
Yu-Gi-Oh!
even... Yes, exactly. Damn it, you stole my joke.
Yeah, okay,
Well, there,
so.
Yuji boy.
Who
It's
knows
become
how many.
Yu-Gi-Oh! The most dangerous of card games. Taking a sip, condensation ran down his wrist. This is going to be important. The ice had completely melted, but the tea was still pleasantly cool. Is it already this late?
Late?
Oh, he's looking at his cell phone. Blah 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 blah.
You're gonna read all the lines.
Tetsuo checked the screen of
sorry.
his cell phone.
I'm
When
switching
Yuji
over
looked
to
at the wristwatch
Science
he had
Man.
on,
Science Man is
the hour
the man,
hand
is the
indicated that
narrator
it was
now.
6 o'clock.
You've lost your narration privileges. I'll condenser.
I'm
You're
sorry, I
doing
can't
a bad
tell
and
when.
weird job.
How about tomorrow and the weekend? Eyes meeting again, he hung his head. There was no trace of that sleeping face he remembered anymore.
I have to work on the weekend. Helmet condenser, that's you.
Is that right?
Is
You've
that right?
been demoted to Yoji.
That's fine.
The lowest
sorry.
for
I'm just
positions.
I'm being goofy and I shouldn't. This is a very serious matter.
The conversation paused there. Feeling impatient for some reason, Yuji lifted his head.
This is you, helmet condenser.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's
Next week
lifting
will
his head
work.
to say something, obviously. Context clues!
I'm the worst Yahoo reader. I'm sorry, everyone.
The narrator interjected and said, "Next week will work."
I just said it.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
All
I
right.
did.
All right,
Yeah.
if you say so.
All
All
right. Tetsuo gave a small nod. His heart pounded so hard it was hurting his chest. There was no need to make any promises right this second. He could ask them next week came around. When? But for some reason he didn't want the conversation to be ended in this way. He wasn't sure why himself.
Well, at least we're entertaining you, D-Back.
For some reason, he felt like he had to say something.
Of course, you have to say something.
After that, he lied about work being early the next day and promptly left Tetsuo's house.
He didn't say anything.
I don't want to end the conversation this way. Bye. Even as he rode the train and walked home, his heart kept up the fast rhythm, his excitement dragging on. Although it resembled the symptoms he had when he was in bad condition, it was a bit different. His mind was utterly blank, and his body felt light. Yuji walked the evening road home in the flow of the crowd, feeling nothing but a floating sensation.
I'm putting it on auto. I'll be right back.
When he was back at his own place, Yuji fed the fish in the aquarium and changed clothes. Going through his usual routine, he was suddenly struck with the idea to call his sister. He'd been thinking he wanted to talk to her, but he kept missing his opportunity. He wanted to congratulate her on her delivery. Taking his cell from his bag and sitting on the sofa, he called his sister's number. After a few rings, she picked up. Hello, is that you, yo, sister? What's the matter? Did something happen?
He was
He was relieved to hear her voice after so long, but a bit surprised at what she said.
Why?
I can tell from the tone of your voice and the way that you're speaking. And on top of that, I called earlier, but you didn't pick up. I was a bit worried. Were things all right? That was the day Makoto threw his phone on the ground. He felt a bit of a pain in his chest.
It was fine. More importantly, congratulations. Sorry this comes so late.
No problem. I got your text. Thank you.
Who does he look like?
I wonder. You should check for yourself, yo. Hearing that happy, bashful voice, the corners of his mouth relaxed.
What is the name?
That's still a secret. Look forward to it when you come to visit.
Understood. Are you still in the hospital?
Yes, it was a premature birth. And you know, you and I have bodies that are none too strong, like mother or their father was strong, but it's just to make sure I'm perfectly fine myself. After saying so much, she paused for a moment. We used to play together a lot at home. We didn't really go out much, huh? So we talked a lot, and I somehow came to know what you were thinking, what you wanted, what you hated.
Right. You always were a thinker.
Really? It's a bit embarrassing when I get told that. His sister's happy voice grew a bit lively. Now you give the sense that you're a lose, yo. More
You
lost
lose,
than...
yo.
He'd been talking in a way so as not to worry her, but it seemed he couldn't hide it. Accepting that, he wondered where to start. Recently, there's been someone I've been talking to. Oh.
Oh.
What?
He's
It's
a bit unusual.
Who's talking? It's clearly Yoshi.
I have no idea.
It's just
what he's
strange
thinking.
because
Never changes expressions like a puppet, and everyone is scared of him.
it's because
He's all of a
Yoshi
sudden
never
talking
says
in
this.
paragraphs.
Yeah. It's so hard to tell.
Honestly, I didn't want anything to do with him, so gradually I got conflicted, especially after he fucked me twice without me
You mean your own
wanting.
feelings
Yeah,
about him are conflicted?
Yes, my feelings are conflicted.
Your feelings? Yes, my feelings.
At
At first he approached me arbitrarily and then did things I didn't understand. Even terrible things. Like when he get that Zenya.
And then that rainy day. Those after images came into vision one by one, like burnt film, then disappeared. In the end, I still...
In the end, I still don't get him, but anything is possible in the yaoi world. Even though he hated me, I notice he's always near me. This isn't the right way to put it, but I'm going crazy. Since I don't know what he's thinking, I don't know what to do. It'd be easier if I knew he hated me.
Holy shit, this is more than he has ever talked in his life.
Finished speaking.
Finished speaking
Slowly let out a deep
forever.
breath.
Yoshi is finally...
He wondered what his sister's impression was. All he could hear was the dial tone. He wanted to know he was a little scared too. A small sigh came from the receiver.
So awkward, you and this person.
Awkward.
He repeated without thinking. He himself might be so, but he hadn't considered Tetsuo awkward. Since didn't feel any humanity from him, felt like he was perfect in all ways.
Since I haven't met him, this is just a guess, but this person also probably doesn't know what to do.
I wonder.
Probably. I think he also doesn't know what he should do to get along with you, Yo.
Science.
That was certainly a great surprise.
You're wrong. It was
Anybody
it
could
was
have
the
said this.
narrator.
Could it be?
Well, that's what I mean. Scienceman is the narrator. Right?
Fuck.
Was Tetsuo also lost?
I'm so confused.
We need to have like a 3 light system, red,
Yeah.
yellow, and green, and then we can just signal each other when someone's supposed to be talking.
Maybe he was bewildered. Could it really be? He didn't look at all that way.
Has this
Has this
person
person
done
done
anything
anything
spiteful? Have you felt any ill will?
I certainly felt that, but
I think that's Science Man.
Recently, it seemed quite different.
oh, there's a weird feeling.
Then I think
I
he's
think
awkward.
he's-
But if
Wait,
but
I'm not
if
sure
he
who
might
this
have gotten
is.
overbearing, which you don't like. You didn't like. Obviously, this is the sister. She's saying you
Okay.
didn't like it.
yes, overbearing is one way to put it.
Could it be that? Could that be it? God, the Science
Could
Man. I think
that be it?
Yes. Okay.
Since it was an opinion from a totally different viewpoint, his mind couldn't follow.
He literally cannot project his thoughts onto other people. He
Man,
cannot
I
understand
am. How long has this not been edited? It's been like at this 42%
Like
edited
3
for.
hours.
No, I mean in like the production of this patch. I feel like they should give it to me, and I could just put quotation marks around this and make things clearer in like a week, and it would be much better. But
Well,
this has
you can
been
always request it. You can request the Yaoi power.
maybe.
Maybe they
Who
just
knows if anyone's
texted
actually
out.
working on it anymore, though. It's been like years. Okay, anyway.
Thinking, Yuji leaned against the back of the sofa.
How about talking to him after things settle a bit more?
Well, he doesn't really talk.
That doesn't mean he can't, right? Then I think it's important to compromise so you can understand what he's thinking. If you do, he might compromise in the same way.
Compromise.
Compromise. It seemed simple, but it wasn't. He hadn't ever had to compromise with anyone until now.
Ever?
What?
Ugh. Well, I mean, he has no friends, so.
Yuji got everything in life that he ever wanted. A sickness, poop blood.
Since you're both human, there will be times where you can't understand each other no matter what. But connecting with others isn't something that can be done that easily. You need to treasure your friends.
I Goldhipper.
Bye.
He felt discomfort at the word friend. Compromising in order to understand another. Compromise. Friend.
Makoto.
He at last understood why he was caught up in that word. Maybe it was necessary to compromise with Makoto. Yuji lifted himself from the back of the sofa.
You fucked up. No wonder you can't have friends. He doesn't know anything about compromise, how to treat a friend. Oh. This is about...
is
sorry, that's helmet condenser.
Whoa, yeah, okay. This is about someone else, but this person has been acting strangely.
In what way? The sister's like, oh my god, I got a baby, I can't solve all my brother's weird problems.
He was a bright guy who smiled lots, but suddenly he lost his energy. Just recently he came all the way here on a rainy day with no umbrella. He was muttering something like, "Why aren't I good enough?"
His sister was silent so she could think.
Maybe he's worrying too much about something. When people get too stressed, they can get unstable. Are you close with him?
He may be the one I talk to the most at school.
Then pay attention. It might be best to listen to him as much as you can. Since I think for a healthy person to get like that, something must have happened.
Understood. I will try to be careful.
Man, I sure hope that Yoji takes all this good advice and uses it and everything turns out to be great. Good.
Maybe that would be a compromise. He wasn't sure what he could do, but he felt like he understood what his sister was saying. Maybe a bit worn out from so much talking, his sister let out a small breath.
We've talked a lot. Since it's lights out soon, I'll be going back to my room. Please call me whenever anything happens. Well then, good night.
Night.
She disconnected. Pressing the end call button, Yuji placed his phone on the table. Standing from the sofa, he threw himself face up on the bed. What he'd heard from his sister about Tetsuo, about Makoto. They were endlessly swirling in his mind. This was the first time he'd pondered his sister's advice this deeply. Even though usually his doubt would clear and the answer would come forth. But it was just good to hear thoughts.
Alright, friend.
He supposed...
This will be Kitani's point of view, I guess. Yeah.
Zenya had completely shut himself off. That laughter that had rung out in the living room was still in his head. Swirling his glass with one hand, Kitani stared at the amber liquid. The ice that was beginning to melt made a pleasant noise. Jazz was streaming through the inside of the shop. Blue lights wavering.
Jizz was streaming through the inside of the shop.
After somehow managing to get Zenya, who had been endlessly rolling dice in the living room, back to his own room, into the Cerulean Warbler.
That's the name of the bar that Kunihito owns, the dad.
His senses had sharpened and he wasn't sleepy at all. It was a time late at night, but it was the weekend and there were still several people in the bar. Just as he sat in his usual seat, a deep sigh slipped from his mouth. He was awfully tired, not in a physical sense like he would be from exercising, but because of his anxiety. He drank up his first and second cups right away, and this was his third. He always ordered the same thing.
Apple juice.
A bunch of ice cubes.
He wasn't drunk yet. Moreover, he didn't feel like he even could get drunk today.
Yes, that's how being drunk works. If you put your mind to it, you really won't be drunk at all.
Sounds like a challenge. Of course, it was because he was worried about Zenya. Yet worried is the word. Kunihito was continuing with those weird ceremonies in the chapel, too.
In the chapel comma.
Man, you gotta get out of here. This is a bad situation.
Dripping blood.
Kitani? Is that his name? Forgot. Yes, Kitani. You gotta get out of here.
Kitani,
Be your own
dripping
man.
blood. He remembered the shape of Kunihito sacrificing a small animal to the altar. The contents of that box under the altar was still on his mind no matter what he did.
Anyway, he's gonna sneak in there and he's probably something bad's gonna happen.
Kunihito always locked the chapel door, but the door was made of thin wood, and since it was old, it seemed like he could easily open it with a strong kick. Although he considered it, he wanted to avoid trespassing without permission.
Trespassing means going somewhere without permission. If you can't really trespass without permission, that's redundant.
Kitani set down his glass, pulling out a single cigarette from his case. Customers had started to fill the bar before he knew it, and the counter seats were almost full. Another bartender had joined the one who had been working alone when Kitani had arrived.
Oh!
Oh,
Tetsuo works
no.
here. This is the bar he works at. As a bartender.
Unintentionally looking over, his eyes were rooted to the spot.
I think he would have noticed after coming to this bar so many times.
The person standing with countless bottles at his back was Tetsuo. There was no mistaking him. Even now, he clearly remembered when he'd been ordered by Zenya to knock him about. There was no reason to forget a memory with such a bad aftertaste. Tetsuo was working behind the counter quietly and skillfully. Was he working part-time here then? He didn't remember seeing Tetsuo
Oh, okay.
here until now. For that matter, maybe he just hadn't noticed him. With his unlit cigarette in his mouth, Kitani followed Tetsuo with his eyes. Looking at him like this, he simply could not see him as a high school student. Legally, he couldn't work in a place like this, so maybe the bar hired him under the table. But he's too tall. Beneath the blue lighting, he was secretly staring at that face as Tetsuo worked silently. It seemed like there weren't any traces of his injuries. He must have healed since that time. Although he'd been ordered, he had worried, as he'd beaten him pretty severely. Perhaps because he'd come across this strange character, his mood shifted. Kitani put down the cigarette that had been in his mouth, taking a sip of the scotch, ice completely melted. The feeling of guilt and confusion on his chest didn't fade even with the burning alcohol. As Kitani chugged the contents of his glass, the relaxed atmosphere of the bar bristled in the presence of danger. A man in showy clothes, clearly a mobster, was walking between the tables, ostentatiously giving off a sense of intimidation.
Oh boy.
But more surprising still was that this was a person he was acquainted with. Why is that surprising?
Yeah, exactly.
Aoshima, a man who was once his underling while he was part of the Okinaga family. Aoshima took notice of Kitani at his table, approaching with a complacent smile. Without notice, he sat in the seat across from Kitani with a thud.
Whoa.
Yo, Kitani, been a while, huh?
I didn't think they'd introduce any more character sprites at this point in the game.
Without paying any mind at all to the old pecking order, he spoke in an overly familiar tone.
Helmet condenser, you can be Aoshima or whoever.
Okay.
Kitani, you big beluga. Judging from the clothes and jewelry on his body, Aoshima seemed to be influential. Which reminded him that he'd heard some manner of gossip about a new mob boss, and that he'd acquired the job. But why was this man here now?
Perhaps to get a drink at the bar. This is him.
Oi, oi. In short time, we've been apart. You've aged a ton, huh? Worn out from caring for that crazy old retiree all the time?
What did you want?
Careful not to give away the disturbance of his innermost thoughts, Kitani focused on Aoshima's eyes with a serious face.
Cripes, don't make that scary face. You ain't no gangster anymore. I didn't come here to scare the upright citizens in my free time.
Zoinks! Taking out an extremely gaudy lighter from the inside pocket of his coat, Aoshima lit a cigarette. Maybe having sensed the unusual ambience, the employees did not approach to take his order, but watched over from a distance.
I wonder what that lighter looks like. I'm imagining like one of those like ones that has like eagles and the American flag on
Nope, it looks like a Rubik's Cube. I hear you and Kunihito are rather cornered by your circumstances, Dot. I came to see what shape you are in.
Where did you hear that rumor from?
Those falsities were extreme even for Kitani. They certainly weren't going so far as to indulge in every luxury, but even so they were tidying up their honor sufficiently. Yeah,
Ain't no gossip. But what do you know? The old man came asking for money from the family, and it weren't no small change either. I'm a little surprised you'd be so indignant after that.
What on earth?
Kitani couldn't hide his surprise at those unexpected words.
What is that like tiny little beard hairs on Kitani's
Yeah.
chin? They're so ugly. You gotta shave that. This is, yeah.
Nevertheless, from what I can see, the attendance at this bar ain't bad at all. If it's like this, the old man shouldn't have any obstacles in the way of living comfortably. So why the hell is he in such a frenzy to raise money?
Ooh.
Examining Kitani's dumbfounded expression, Aoshima snorted as if to make a fool of him.
From the looks of you, I get the sense it's a shock to you. Well, I'm troubled. You're in charge of caring for the geezer, right? Why don't you at least grab hold of his wallet?
Without paying any mind to Aoshima's rudeness, Kitani desperately searched his memory. Why Kunihito would suddenly need a lot of money, he had no idea.
Oh god, he's gonna build a church or something, isn't he?
Maybe?
Kitani's just blanked out after everything that's been going on. Do you really blame him?
What did the boss say to you?
I'll be in trouble if I tell you that. The old man was nonsensical as always. Something about Zenya and about charity. I didn't catch the gist at all.
Man, I hope Kitani can live a happy life. He's my favorite character.
He's the only decent character.
Well, I mean, he did beat up 2 people and throw them out of the room.
But he feels guilty about it, and he has to.
Yeah, yeah.
Senya's crazy.
Tetsuo shows guilty by forcibly patting a guy that he raped.
At least he hasn't raped anybody. You again. Tell me
But I gotta guess somehow, from how he was talking, I'd say the old man is being extorted by someone.
Blackmail. Sweat ran down Kitani's back. Impatience and anger boiled up inside him. He had no idea what had happened. It'd be easy to ensnare Kunihito in any slight moment of weakness in his current confused state.
I do have to say, this subplot is a little better than the regular plot.
The problem didn't lie there.
And if only because Kitani's a slightly more interesting character and he doesn't just repeat the same thing over and over.
Just how did Kunihito fall into a trap like that when he'd been shut inside?
How much can it say?
I don't know. That he wouldn't consult with the only follower he had left, Kitani. He doesn't really seem to have confidence in you, huh?
Fuck you.
He couldn't answer. Instead, he was irritated with his own disappointing inability to be by Kunihito's side to see this company coming.
Well, the old retiree really is being shameless, even if the family doesn't punish him. It's fucked for a former boss to get clowned on by some moron, huh?
If I speak to the boss directly, he will explain. So...
That's weak.
Aoshima's tone held some sharpness, interrupting Kitani's words.
The old man hasn't consulted with you one bit yet, right? If he planned on confessing to you, honestly, he would have done it from the start.
Aoshima pulled out 2 electric components from his breast pocket, placing them before Kitani, who held silent.
You can probably tell, but they're bugs. Here's one for a phone, and the other goes in clothing. If he meets with someone, you can use this and figure it out. The old man won't notice it the way he is now. It'd be easier than trying to ask him directly.
Of course, a mobster would have this trick. Even Kitani would have considered it right away long ago. But investigating someone who was like family with something like this, he wouldn't have any part of it.
If you won't do it, no biggie, alright? It's illegal, naturally. A burden too big for a responsible citizen. If you tell me you can't, we'll just have to wait for us to get to work.
Aoshima seemed to have seen through him and picked up on his inner conflict. To the current Okinaga family, Kunihito's troubles were nothing but a disgrace to besmirching the family. They wouldn't think about Kunihito's circumstances when it came to resolving them. Although either way, in the end, Kunihito might receive some deep wound, he ought to give preference to straightening out the most immediate problem. He wanted to at least let Kunihito and Zenya live in peace for a while. If he had hoped for that, Kitani was in a situation where he had to prevent intervention from the Okinaga family. Even if he had to dirty his own hands to do it.
Today I came to give a warning because of our old ties. But next time I talk about the old man and the money, I might have to rough you up as we do.
Stubbing out his cigarette in the ashtray, Aoshima stood from his seat. An unpleasant grin, as if he believed he'd nabbed a prize and he's trapped, was plastered on that face.
You best clean it up before it comes to that, for both of us.
Kitani watched Aoshima's back, shoulders shaking as he disappeared, full of gloomy thoughts. Those 2 pieces of electronic equipment had the same presence of a disgusting insect on the table.
Like a bug, get it?
It seemed he wouldn't find any comfort in the taste of booze tonight.
Boss, where are you going at a time like this?
Yeah, I'm going out for a stroll. But for a change of pace, you're the one always telling me I gotta go out once in a while. Right, Kitani?
Yes, by all means, take care.
Uh-huh.
Lowering his head so that his expression couldn't be read, Kitani exited from the vestibule to see Kunihito off. He'd been neither surprised nor suspicious. He knew beforehand that Kunihito would go out at this time. He knew that he wasn't going for a stroll, and he knew where he was really going. He'd heard it all last night on the bug he'd put on Kunihito's phone.
Oh wow,
thanks.
they really skipped ahead.
That's
Could have
good.
done a lot
I'm
of
glad.
I know, I was just surprised. Good job for once.
The person he'd been talking to called himself Kamiya.
I knew it!
Oh, fucking
I knew it!
As
The only
Kitani
other
knew,
adult
Hito
character in the
didn't have
game.
an associate by that name. What? Tetsuo's mother didn't have a name?
Nope. Well, I mean, I guess she was Miss Shirogima.
Yes, look at this. We're learning about how bugs work. Once the bug was set on the phone, the recorded call could be played back afterwards.
Exchanging with Kunihito was a man calling himself Kamiya, who specified a place and time in very few words before ending the call. It was clearly a strange transaction.
I bet that
Kunihito.
Kamiya is offering to solve whatever Zenya's weird problem is.
Kunihito was so panicked it was pitiable. Kitani had no choice but to accept it. This Kamiya man had seized his weak point.
And Kunihito wants to save his son, so he's giving him all this money.
He'd have to make sacrifices before things got worse. In a gloomy mood, Kitani had tucked the other bug he'd been given to Aoshima into the heel of Kunihito's shoe during the evening. It was smaller than the one for phones, without a recording function. In order to intercept, he needed to walk to stay within the range of the signal.
Oh boy, a minigame!
Don't get too close, don't get too far. Just as Kunihito left the house, Kitano hopped in the car.
That's a great car sound effect.
The place Kamiya had specified on the phone was a local karaoke bar, certainly a convenient place for a private talk. He was sure there was a fast food place on the other side of the lock. He decided he'd lie in wait there and get some numbers. Parking in the nearest lot, he arrived at the fast food place he'd aimed for. Ordering an iced coffee on the spot, he sat near the cash registers on the first floor.
What? I don't get
Guess
it.
who loves fast food?
Oh, I don't know. I think they're just reusing the only fast food backdrop they have.
But Makoto did disappear.
Did he?
For during times, like he'd say he'd be busy, like after school. Acting nonchalant, he placed the receiver
Alright.
in the ear. Because we've only seen him at school so far.
Well,
except for that one
yeah.
after school.
I don't know the time he came over to cry. Well, I guess you guys weren't there.
And late at night. Alright, I'm wrong, never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's
If,
only
I don't
been
know
seen
if
at
he's
school
gonna
except
be
for
here.
every other time.
I think Makoto might be like his own dude who has nothing. He's just a bystander who gets sad.
At once he heard footsteps. Considering where he'd put it, the sound of each footstep hurt his ears a little, but the reception was good.
Don't put a fucking bug in his shoe.
The hustle and bustle of the path through the inside of the karaoke bar. It stopped suddenly, silence coming through. They must have gone in a private room. Then a courteous yet high-handed voice, just as that during the telephone call, came through the earpiece.
Look, it says Kamiya.
Oh, I'm Kamiya now instead of...
Well, yeah, because I'm.
Sad.
Oh wait. Yeah, that's right. I forgot who was meeting who.
Yeah, am I the old man or am I
Yes, you're the old
scientist? Okay,
I'm
so
science.
you are the scientist. Do the science.
Thank you very much for purposely going out of your way at my request.
Oh, don't mention him.
I've called no one else here today but you. I thought I would love to talk with you regarding Zenya's recent behavior.
Ah, have mercy, have mercy. Since I've doubted my offerings to the organization, or since I've doubled my offerings to the organization, so please be lenient with Zenya.
You simply will not understand no matter how much time goes by. We are different from those organizations who aim to make money. Although we have exerted unnecessary force to twist things the direction they need to go, we only go so far as to obey his natural providence. We bear the duty of watching over them. So it is now not a question of money. Understood? Zenya is interfering with a host that has the extremely rare Mesu nature. Science
What on earth were they talking about? Kitani was utterly clueless.
We haven't seen a host compatible with internal life to the point of birthing flesh seeds in a long time. Oh boy. Oh boy, finally some answers. Sorry, I'm excited. We haven't seen a host compatible with internal life to the point of birthing flesh seeds in a long time. He's a being who certainly could produce an immaculate. Oh boy. But we wish for him to be associated with a perfect Osu. That would be best. But Zenya is trying to hinder that.
But Zenya also has the qualities to become an Osu.
Is Zenya a perfect Osu? Science one.
Kamiya interrupted Kunihito's words in a tone so cold it caused shivers.
You have acknowledged this repeatedly, Kunihito. Only a perfect Osu can impregnate a Mesu with an immaculate. Do you have such hopes for Zenya? This is you, Helmut Tensei.
No. Zenya, he's an Osu. As an Osu, he's worthless.
His chest pained at the sound of Kunihito's strained voice. What right did this Kamiya have to torment Kunihito?
It is like Silent Hill. It's like Silent Hill 3. Or 2. Or 1. I mean 1. Mainly 1 and 3, I guess. Anyway.
Yo, Heather, swallow this. Give birth. His anger grew stronger, with no place for it to go.
I still wouldn't call it impreg. I mean, I just don't think it... I mean, technically, a being is being born, but impreg is more about actual babies and, you know, raising a child together with a man.
The miracle of
Impreg
life.
could also be about the actual biological changes as well.
Yeah, like, this is more parasite fetish, if anything.
That makes sense. It reminds me also, to a degree, of like aliens and stuff. So it could be that kind of invasive pregnancy.
Definitely.
So yeah, host
I
type thing.
hate parasites.
Well,
The end.
here we go in
That's
this
all I have to
parasite
say.
game. Maybe, possibly. Or maybe it's a symbiote. Doesn't seem like it, though. Seems like Yoji's suffering pretty heavily. Okay.
But he could do nothing but listen.
Oh,
Why?
yeah.
Why
No,
must Zenya
this is
Oh,
Pelican
okay.
sensor.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was an internal...
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Why was Zenya suffer like this? I didn't expect it to be this way.
This is a test for Zenya, Kunihito, and a punishment for you. Although you were born into the Okanaga family that protects and Although you were born into the Okanaga family that protects and deifies the Immaculates, you worshipped God and ignored them. Fate punished your child, and it became Zenya's trial.
I don't know. I didn't know any of them.
When you hit your head, you saw them for the first time. You felt them, their presence. Loitering on the boundary between life and earth, you were able to awake the truth. The wounds on your head can truly be called as stigmata. So, continuing from your uncle, we entrusted you with the host.
But why does there need to be a new Immaculate? Though we were already given a master. That's it. I remember I had a revelation.
I see. I had no conception of that myself.
A bit surprised, Kamiya reconsidered his tone.
The master of the master of the Okanaga family was certainly said to be the best immaculate. It's hard to fathom that with just one Mesu sacrifice, after so long, it would regain its previously perfect form. If we resolve ourselves for perfection, we ought to trust in the birth of a new immaculate. If we do so, it will receive the blessing of we, the free peoples, as well, and I expect Zenya will get his salvation. Of course, we cannot be unprepared. If the current Osu and Mesu do not conclude smoothly, there is a possibility all will end in futility. It won't be too late to risk reviving the current master by sacrificing the Mesu if that happens. Ooh.
Well,
Is that alright, Kunihito? We sincerely do not want to do anything rash. If we rush the results, it might be all fruitless. Please remember our kindness into the end as we entrust you with supervision of Zenya. However, if you're saying you alone cannot control him...
Of course I can. I've told Zenya many times I absolutely will not do anything to incur your wrath, so please, somehow...
If you understand, that's enough. Let us finish off here for today.
Whoa. That's a repeated line.
I see. I had no conception of that myself. Oh shit. Uh-oh. 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 We're caught in a time loop. Oh, okay. Phew! That scared me.
With Kunihito's weak footsteps, the clamor of the pathway through the karaoke bar returned once more. It seemed that he was leaving the place separately from Camille. He wanted to stake out the karaoke bar and find this Camille man's true form.
His true
But he
form is
couldn't
a
be
scientist.
absent from the house. When Kunihito's returned, he needed to get back before he did. He had no choice to wait until next time to find out what kind of person Camille was. As he quickly left the fast food restaurant and returned to the car, he pondered over the conversation he'd just heard.
Hang on, okay.
He couldn't grab the whole picture of the extremely abnormal subject matter at all. That Kamiya spoke of the same things Kunihito rattled on about recklessly every day with composure. In short, Kunihito wasn't having delusions. On top of that, he'd caught something about an organization and offerings. Had Kunihito entered a strange cult after he'd injured his head? But on the other hand, Kamiya had clearly rejected the offer for money. Perhaps Kunihito had gone so far as to show his face to the Okinaga family alone because he was forced by Kamiya, but of his own will. He was worried about their concerns regarding Zenya as well, but they weren't going to make him do anything. Rather, he'd requested to have him do nothing. In that case, there was no urgent crisis. Zenya's eccentricities were an everyday occurrence. It was completely possible that he'd irritated Kamiya on an impulse. At least Kunihito wouldn't attract Aoshima's attention anymore. He ought to be relieved because of that. But the lurking shadow of anxiety in Kitani's chest didn't lighten up in the least. If he was being tricked or threatened in a way that was that way easier to understand, that there might be the Free Peoples. That must be the name of the organization Kamiya belonged to. I like this picture that's not going away for a while. The cause of the threat to Kunihito's sanity was definitely the intervention of others.
Wait, what? Picture?
The cause of the threat to Kunihito... It's just clouds.
Oh, well, yeah, this is typical. Nothing's happening, he's just reflecting.
Yes, the typical cloud thought.
This wasn't a question of just catching this Kamiya, putting the screws to him and taking care of things. Kunihito would continue worshipping that strange idol unless he made him understand, so he severed ties with him. He was trapped in a situation that wouldn't be resolved just by depending on physical strength. It was extremely complicated to Kitani, making him realize his own inability.
Jeez. A lot of info after nothing for many days.
Monday of a new week. It was cloudy, a sultry air hanging about since morning. Imagining that it was like walking along the waterside in the tropics, Yuji headed for school.
Oh, what a nice thought. Alright,
Since he's
he's
Alright.
going to school. He entered the classroom and missed the usual spot. Maybe you gonna look over Tetsuo. And there's Tetsuo. He's looking out the window.
I acknowledge you.
His grades were perfect. He was an exemplary student. He's an Osu, of course. Thinking over once again, he shifted into a strange mood. Blah blah blah. Oh, there's no sense of reality. What time is it? The morning. Oh.
Oh no.
Science one.
Makoto had entered the class with a huge grin, raising one hand, returning greetings from the students near him. He felt a little bit of relief at that sight. Last week he seemed a little off. It was good if he'd gone back to his old self. Noticing Yuji, Makoto approached him after setting his bag down at his desk.
Yo, morning, Yoji.
Morning.
You seem to be in good health lately.
Yeah, mostly.
Is that right? Good.
Makoto smiled brightly before immediately lowering his eyebrows, apologetically.
Sorry about the other day.
Hmm.
About when I was all the way to, about when I went all the way to your place. I was a little out of it.
Oh.
He remembered Makoto's soaking wet.
Don't worry about it. You didn't catch a cold, did you?
Nope. I only gained energy, but I'm really sorry.
Makoto put his hands together in front of his face, lowering his head.
Aw, he's so cute. What's the matter?
Nothing.
Oh yeah, I have a message from Kamiya. He asked for you to come to the chem room after school. Wanted to talk to you.
Got it.
Well, now that I told you.
Shrugging his shoulders a little, Makoto returned to his desk with nimble steps. Strange? For just a moment, he thought it was strange. His expression, attitude, and tone were the same as always, but he felt something was off about Makoto.
Whoa.
His eyes... His mouth was smiling, but his eyes weren't. Maybe he was overthinking. Setting his uneasiness aside, Yuji heard the murmur of the morning announcements through the speaker.
Oh boy, what's gonna happen?
Transmitted by microphone through wires to the speaker. After school, when all classes had ended, as he'd been informed by Makoto, Yuji headed for the chemistry room.
The school principal got on the microphone. He said, "This microphone turns sound into electricity, so you can hear my voice."
No matter how humid it was outside,
He's
no
going
sun
to
walking
the
down the gloomy
chemistry
corridor, he stood in
room.
front of the
Here's
chemistry he had little so soon.
Had he come a little
If so,
soon?
wandering, he
Wondering,
pulled at the door to test, and
It's
it
dark
opened. There
in
was no
this
one
chemistry
inside.
room.
He had the air
So
in the
cold
chemistry
in the
room.
chemistry room.
Getting
Goosebumps
goosebumps.
zone.
Gonna
Inside,
jerk off
you
in the
had
chemistry
sword
room
fruits.
again. What?
I really like this chaotic, like everyone saying totally different things, because it really fits with how ridiculous the game's commentary on everything is. I'm thinking about all these things. Oh no! He heard the sound of the door locking.
The sound of the door locking.
Oh shit.
He tried to turn around in surprise, but something was hanging over him.
No.
He was pinned by someone from behind.
Quit it. Let go.
Writhing desperately, he fought to get away. But the other person leaned their weight on him to stop him from moving. Unable to bear the weight of two people, Yuji staggered forward. His stomach hit the lab table near him. His head was violently pushed to the desk. He heard the sound of his skull hitting the surface, a cold numbness spreading.
Oh no, poor Yuji.
And when he tried to push himself up with his arms, his hair was grabbed harshly. His face twisted at the pain of his scalp twitching. He heard a strange noise by his ear, then something was thrust before his eyes. Yuji felt the blood
It's
drain
a gun.
from his face when he spreaded his field of vision.
Oh.
A blade giving off a dimly bluish sheen, a large box cutter used for cutting cardboard.
It was a clicking sound, so I assumed it was a gun chamber being rotated, but it was a cardboard cutter.
A cardboard knife. We'll just pretend it's a cardboard knife.
Okay.
It's one of those ones that you like put in and out.
Yeah, we know. I'm just saying that the
Alright,
knife is made of cardboard because
Make
that's...
the sound.
Who am I?
Boo.
He heard a voice.
Oh
he
god,
knew.
it's Zenya, isn't it?
Oh!
Oh.
Makoto.
That's right.
That's right.
Good answer. I'm glad.
The person holding Yuji down was Makoto? Maybe it was because of the darkness, but his pupils seemed open wide.
Oh, the thing about Kamiya was a lie!
Yeah.
Don't look
Don't.
away. Oh,
Oh
shit. Oh, why you
Oh.
gotta be like
Holding the
this,
box cutter before
Makoto?
Yuji's throat, Makoto grabbed his shoulder, urging him to turn around.
I liked you even though I knew what your ending was.
Yes, you know. Mulling over bitter feelings, Yuji slowly turned to face up. Makoto settled with holding both of Yuji's hands over his head, staring into his face with a faint smile.
Let go, Makoto. What are you doing?
He had asserted himself with a strained voice, driven by a strong sense of irritation. Makoto just smiled with a sigh.
You can ask me what I'm doing, but I don't really know myself.
Even though the temperature in the chemistry room was low, sweat ran down Makoto's temples.
He was yandere the whole time.
Look at those hands! Look at those fingers!
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
I-
god! They're monstrous! He truly is a Mesu.
Yes, come.
No,
Come here, he's coming.
he's not. That was a lie.
Well,
A lie to
A
lure
lie.
you here, Yoji. I figured you wouldn't if I didn't do that.
with every
is-
word he gave forth, his lips twisted.
This is like some kind of ridiculous Wile E. Coyote plan.
I don't
He's
think
gonna
so.
lure him here, and then he's gonna yell a lot.
With every
Yeah.
word he gave forth, his lips twisted. I said that. How could the key?
That was.
Sorry. Sorry. It's so confusing.
He puts it where just anyone can come take it. More importantly, there's something I always wanted to ask you, so I made time to do so.
Cool.
Makoto was clearly incapable of making normal choices now. He'd only just thought he'd returned to his old self, but he must have been mistaken.
His reason and instinct, whatevers, have fucked up.
His humors
Can I
are
ask?
all wrong.
Doing what he could so as not to agitate him, he answered with a slight nod.
Yoji, what do you think about Shiranuma?
Hironoma.
Why was he bringing up Tetsuo now? The box cutter's blade pressed to his throat. His body stiffened at the coldness.
Oh, because he was
future.
going to your house and stuff. 2 days in a row, even.
How did he know that?
Kamiya asked him, but
Kamiya-
why didn't you refuse him? Well, I followed. It was like... I guess I felt like I was going nuts. I was bothered and bothered and bothered and bothered and bothered.
You followed.
Because I was going nuts. I couldn't help it.
He was astonished at those words Makoto had declared so naturally. He must have been following Tetsuo.
Oh my god. Way to put things together. So, Shiranuma the second time hooked something weird on the door. Isn't that creepy? So I kicked it off. But did it fall in front of the door? It had Oh yeah.
It had fallen. The stew Tetsuo's mother had made. What?
Yeah,
Before he discovered it on the ground, he'd heard a loud sound through the door. Was that Makoto?
Right, okay, so Tetsuo came to bring him his homework, and then he brought him stew, and I guess Makoto kicked the stew off of the door handle too, because he was mad about the stew. That guy is so... what the hell? That's what I think anyway. Since he started to interfere, something was off about you. And that's his fault. He made a lot of things go off balance. A lot of things are off.
Makoto suddenly looks serious, gaze falling on the box cutter. He could hear the blade pushing next to his throat, bit by
What?
bit. He
'Cause it clicked
desperately
a little
tried
bit
to
more,
withstand
so
as
we
he
heard it.
threatened to tremble.
Hey, Yoji, I really hate him. I hate him so much I can't stand it. I don't know what he's thinking and he gives me off a scary vibe. Look at Makoto's crazy eyes.
Romati has some interesting information.
Oh wow, thanks Umati, that's really helpful. Mesu means female, animal, Osu means male. I knew that there was something about like male and female, I mean, that's sort of, I guess you can infer that, but yeah, thanks. He's definitely nuts. No good. Yoji, he's no good.
Makoto's eyes slowly locked on Yuji. He's no good for you.
It's definitely better for you
It's
to be with me instead of me of someone like that. That's settled, right? Don't you think
Oh,
so
he actually
too?
said that. Alright. Those eyes, lacking any of Makoto's true character, saw nothing. They were nothing but glass beads.
I'm getting pissed. Really pissed. Are you messing with me?
In a tone like he was holding back his irritation, Makoto twisted his neck at an angle. The bones make a cracking sound.
Oh no. How long do you need to think? Answer me right now. Right now. Just say something.
Maybe overcome with emotion, Makoto suddenly raised the box cutter overhead. Just then, Yuji pulled away one of his hands, striking the blade of the cutter.
Uh-oh.
A burning sensation jolted in his hand. Fingers trembling, warm liquid ran down his palm. A burning pain rose up, a bit delayed.
Answer? Yoji, me or Shiranuma? If it's me, nod. If it's Shiranuma, just keep silent.
A soft voice whispered near his ear. At the same time, the sharp blade was thrust before his eyes.
Oh no! Man, Yoji, maybe you should just nod in this situation.
His heart was pounding so hard it might burst through his chest. Makoto had lost his mind. He didn't know what he might do if he disobeyed. But even so, he had no plan to nod.
Perhaps I should plan to nod. First, I will raise my head up, and then down, and then up again.
Maybe I should stall for time, but not nodding at all.
But that would make
that's a bad idea.
Alright.
Tetsuo and Makoto. Picking one wasn't the problem.
The rapist
Why
or
can't
the
I
knife
have
man.
both?
Yeah.
Makoto kept his eyes narrowed as he stared fixedly at Yuji, and at the next moment, laughed.
Is that right? I get it. Really, Yoji. Shiranuma is better? Well, then I guess that means it was my mistake. I look dumb, huh? Don't I? Fucking dumb.
Laughing in a cheerful tone, Makoto repeatedly retracted and pushed out the cutter blade. That expression and monotonous gesture made him feel a strange dread. He felt like Makoto was going to break down soon.
Good clicking sound effects here.
But this wasn't the time to be scared. He needed to communicate the true meaning his answer hadn't been able to.
You're wrong.
The sound of the cutter stopped.
I won't pick you or Shiranuma. What's this decision about? What do I have to pick?
The smile disappeared from Makoto's lips.
Because something's off. What did he do to you? Or is it nothing? At lunch the two of you go off, and before that you two talk, right? You're different when you talk to Shiranuma. Maybe I didn't notice, but I did. You guys are alike in a way. I don't mean in appearance.
Contrasting his indifferent tone, his eyes were blotted in a pathetic color.
Hey, his pupils somehow became larger. I'm always worrying about you, thinking I want to be your source of strength, thinking I want you to rely on me as a friend during times like that. But you don't talk to me.
Without averting his eyes, Makoto raised his head.
Wondering why you won't come to me no matter how much I think of you. Wondering what's up with me. Hey, Yoji, what are we, friends?
Friends.
Friend zone.
Oh.
He wasn't completely sure for himself yet. He knew he hadn't been able to consider Makoto's feelings. Even though he'd been asked what kind of relationship they had, he couldn't answer.
What? We're not friends? I see. It was all a big understanding on my part. Awful. I should just drop dead, huh? Uh-oh.
Makoto laughed with his eyes wide open, extending the box cutter's blade.
Makoto!
Struggle and I'll stab you right away.
Ugh.
I've already come this far. I can't go back. No turning back. Sorry about our relationship, about me, because I'm ending it.
Makoto's face twisted like he was about to cry, and he raised the box cutter high overhead.
Oh no.
Reflexively, he closed his eyes, turning his face away. Shiranuma. That name rang unexpectedly through his mind, crying out loudly for help. Remembering those honest eyes.
Those honest, raping eyes.
Just then, he never lied about raping.
Oh boy, the big boys come
The
to
big
save
boys
the
come to
day.
save the day!
He heard the sound of the door opening and footsteps running forward.
Or maybe it's Kamiya.
Fuck!
Fuck!
The intruder jumped on Makoto's back. No, that's a bad idea. The blade.
Shit! Let go!
Yuji broke free from Makoto's arms, eyes locked on the person who'd suddenly come in. It was Tetsuo,
okay.
struggling in the dark with Makoto. Stop it, you can both have me. Makoto swung the cutter wildly as Tetsuo held him back. But his body was shoved aside, and he fell to the ground.
Can't do anything. Ah!
The cutter made a sound as it flew from his hand to the floor.
Shiranuma.
Grasping one arm as if to protect it, Tetsuo turned around. The box cutter must have hit him and injured him. His hand was red and wet.
What is this? Why did you come?
Makoto on all fours on the floor let out a mortified wail.
Moo! If it weren't for you, it would have gone fine. Why, fuck! Why didn't it go how I wanted? There'd be no trouble until... Why?
Yuji frowned at Makoto's bitter words. He must have lived without having any big failures in his life until now. Both of his parents were in good health. He was bright, had many friends, a person who would be liked by anyone. Things probably generally went how he wished. But Yuji was stooped over, bearing a huge wound. Truly, Makoto was to be envied. Things generally never went how Yuji wished. So I was right, he just doesn't know how to not be a friend with everybody.
I guess so.
But he found the regretful figure of Makoto before him sad.
Fuck. Fuck!
Straining from the depths of his throat to scream, Makoto rose from the floor and exited the chemistry room. He could hear running footsteps echo in the hallway. The footsteps grew distant, and the chemistry room returned to dead silence. Still feeling rather disbelieving, Yuji looked over to Tetsuo. He was dumbfounded at the circumstances, even now.
Why did you come?
Tetsuo was breathing normally, looking at usual in his usual way.
You weren't in the classroom, so I went looking. I wanted to see your homework.
So I looked
Aw.
here.
That's right. Oh.
He'd promised to show his work to Tetsuo's house after school. So he'd been looking for him. But he thought Makoto had locked the chemistry room. What about they key?
The first time I came, it was locked, so I borrowed the spare from the staff room.
he just leisurely went and was like, oh, okay, I'll get this key from somebody.
What if Tetsuo had gone home? Who knows what would have happened? In the end, he'd been saved by Tetsuo.
Hooray!
Hey!
Hooray, saved by a
Sad.
rapist.
sad trumpet sound. It was good that he came for him. Right then, that's what he honestly believed.
Hmm.
Even so, it was miraculous. Just when he was about to be stabbed by Makoto, suddenly, Tetsuo's name had come to mind.
Ooh.
And then he saw Tetsuo in reality.
Ooh.
It was too much of a coincidence. It was like in a film or drama.
Or
Or
drama
yaoi
CD.
manga.
But either way, he'd been saved. Letting out a sigh of relief, the wound in the palm of his hand started to hurt again. He'd completely forgotten about that he'd been injured while he was caught up in other things, like Tetsuo's.
Maybe they're gonna run their blood together, like gross weirdos.
Blood brothers! A diagonal red line ran from the base of his thumb to his wrist. Although it was still bleeding, the gash itself didn't look too nasty. He was reminded that Tetsuo also had an injury on his hand. He looked over to examine it. There had definitely been a wound. A red line cleared down the back of his hand. But had he seen wrong?
Oh right, Tetsuo can heal.
He felt like the wound had gotten smaller. Maybe he was seeing things since it was so dim. But while Yuji had been confused, the wound and shrank to the point where it couldn't be seen without a close look. As Yuji stared unintentionally, Tetsuo moved his hand behind his hip as if to avoid his gaze. Although Yuji immediately looked away, he was troubled by the matter in his head.
But if he heals that quick, then he would have healed. Maybe he has to be conscious to do it. Like when he was beat up when he got kidnapped and he was beat up in that room, he should have.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he has to be conscious and willing it.
That phenomenon just now, he himself was actually rather familiar with it. He
Yeah.
remembered it clearly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yuji's father's wounds
Oh,
would
weird.
also heal quickly. Even if he was hurt enough to bleed, the next day it was clearly healed over. At the time, he figured, oh wait, was the previous dude the master
yeah,
guy?
I guess
that-
so. Oh, maybe yeah. Well,
At the time, he figured out that he was simply because
maybe,
he was an
but
adult
he
and didn't think
died in
anything
a
of it.
car accident, supposedly.
It wasn't a car accident. It
Mm.
was an evil plot.
It was Voldemort.
It was clearly strange. Or maybe there were rare people with these genes. Are you hurt? No, wait.
That was.
Suddenly addressed, he stepped
Oh
back
no, that
to
was
his
me!
senses.
Fuck! Damn it!
My hand. A little.
Go to the school nurse.
What about you?
I'm good.
Tetsuo walked towards the door. He picked up his bag, which had fallen on the floor, and followed behind. Midways, something hit the tip of his shoe.
It's the blood baby from
Oh,
the first
no.
day! Oh.
Oh, the
Oh.
cutter.
Never mind.
The image of Makoto's face, twisted like he was smiling and crying, rose before his eyes. Wait. His mood growing heavy, he put the cutter in his bag for the time being. Somehow he couldn't just leave it.
What?
I wonder if they're gonna
Is this
tell
a Chekhov's
anybody.
gun thing?
Maybe. I mean, maybe.
When he tried to move his body, pain ran through him here and there. He'd really fought back, so he must have hit something without realizing it. Why didn't it go how I wanted? Makoto's cries repeated in his ears. At the same time, he remembered his sister's advice. I think it's important to compromise so you can understand what he's thinking. Just maybe if he'd stepped up a little more,
Yeah,
he
maybe.
wouldn't have
Dumb
caused
idiot. I
this
mean, not
situation.
that. I'm not that you can blame him for being attacked with a knife. Alright, he's going out
Feeling
of the
deep-
chemistry room.
He's leaving the chemistry room with his fuckboy. Yep.
That's not what fuckboy means.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just using that word because it's funny.
I wish it
What
did mean
does it?
that though. It means like someone who fucks everything up all the time. It would-
Really? Oh,
yeah,
that's-
it's
that's-
disappointing. I was
Aw.
hoping it meant a fuckboy. Maybe I'll just
Damn.
use it like that.
Yeah, like
That's how I've been using
Yeah,
it.
we've been torturing Charles lately by asking her where her compatriots are, all of her various fuckboys. Her internet husbandos. After
Orbiting
all,
beta
Twitter
fuckboys.
finds her to be ideal wife material.
Wait, what?
Yeah, someone tweeted at her that she's ideal wife material.
Oh.
Yuji received treatment at the infirmary as he waited for Tetsuo to grab his bag from the classroom. They'd been questioned by the doctor there as to how they'd both gotten similar wounds, but they dodged the question with vague reasons.
I thought Tetsuo's wound is gone. Oh, okay.
Tetsuo's injuries had ended up the size of a tiny scratch. The doctor looked at them and was like, well, this is a scratch, which is like a line, and that's a cut, so they're kind of similar. Finishing up his treatment and leaving the nurse's office, he changed shoes at the shoe rack,
Alright.
dislodging the shoe violently from his foot. Thinking to himself, something grabbed Yuji's arm as he moved towards the entrance. Tetsuo was looking intently in Yuji's eyes, silently dragging him along by the arm as he started to walk.
Hold on.
Though he was confused, he kept walking, passing through the entrance. At first he was taken aback, but as they walked, he started to understand Tetsuo's intentions.
Did he want to study? Damn it.
He
Yeah.
probably intended for them to study.
Alright, they're getting into the house, they're going to the house. They're in the house, they're going to the living room. A cat.
A cat.
Aw. Stop.
The cat was
Stop
rubbing its head
the
in
fast forwarding to talk about the cat.
And again against Tetsuo's leg. Tetsuo's a cat boy. Is that yours?
Nah,
What am I doing?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm taking everyone's line. Tetsuo stuck his hands inside the bag, and the black cat's ears perked. Jumping breezily into his lap, inside the bag was dried sardines.
It acts like a pet cat. Since I gave it
Since
food,
I gave it
food once, it comes all the time. What are you doing, science man? Am I gonna have to demote you to Yoji?
Maybe. There's been an awful lot of talking in this one.
Okay. Do you want to switch back to narration, Helmet Condenser? I'll try.
You narrate.
Alright, I'll try. See how long it takes before my throat locks up.
And you demote yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so who's Tetsuo now? I guess it's Scienceman. Or you guys
Tetsuo
we can
doesn't-
just rotate.
Yeah, you're Tetsuo Scienceman, and I'm just gonna stay Yuji. I'm permanently on Yuji duty for my transgressions.
Since I gave it food once, it comes all the time.
Aww! Gotta put spacebar so we can take in the full glory. Sorry.
That little baby.
Look at that little fish. Woo, look at that kitty cat.
Look how unimpressed Yuji is.
I mean, that's
Why
what
can't
they
you
look
pet
like
me
all
like
the
that?
time, pretty
oh,
much.
Oh, wait.
What?
No, Yuji's looking at him going, why can't he pet me like that? Oh, wait.
Oh. In order to see the cat close up, Yoji sat next to Tetsuo. Looking at the sardines Tetsuo had pulled from the bag, the black cat's big eyes shimmered as he stood up. Taking the fish into its mouth from Tetsuo's hand, it jumped back to the ground, eating happily with a dry crunching sound.
He's fond of you. Cute.
He stared unintentionally, charmed by the sight of that small body eating eagerly. Since he and his sister were both frail, they had never raised a pet. But he liked animals for a long time. Even now, he remembered well how fun the zoo he'd gotten to see on one family trip had been. Ooh. The cat had finished its sardines before he knew it, hopping back into Tetsuo's lap after licking its lips.
Now it'll never stop coming.
Wrong. Wrong, Helmet Condenser! It's Tetsuo. Tetsuo is the one
No,
who
it'll
spoke
never stop.
just now.
No, that can't be Tetsuo. That has to be Yuji.
Even saying so, his profile as he teased the cat with sardines was somehow more casual.
I
You're
don't
wrong,
know how to
Helmet
tell.
Condenser! You're wrong!
Shoot me.
Looks like someone needs to be taken out with the inflammables.
Relinking this in the chat.
Even saying so, his profile as he teased the cat with sardines was somehow more calm than usual. Tetsuo gathered together a few more sardines, placing them on the ground. The black cat leapt nimbly from his lap, taking one sardine in his mouth, backing away a little further to start eating. In the time Tetsuo had stood up, re-entering the living room to put back the bag of sardines. Yoji stood as well, following behind Tetsuo as he went down the hall, stopping just in front of the door to Tetsuo's room. The door opened to prompt him to go inside. Feeling his nervousness rising, Yoji stepped inside. This was the third time he'd been here, but he still wasn't used to it. Tetsuo set his bag on the floor, sitting on his bed. Unsure of what to do, he continued to stand until Tetsuo grabbed his hand.
Ooh.
Pulled forcefully until he was ready to topple over, he collapsed face first on the— oh jeez. When he tried to get up, he felt faint breath against his shoulders. When he rolled his body around, Tetsuo was hanging over him. Dun, 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 dun. Oh fuck!
Red.
Red, always the red. Okay, red on the bed.
Uh,
The big red bed.
His vision fogged like electronic noise, the afterimage burnt into his retinas, flickering in. His memories regarding Tetsuo were shrouded in dread. The day he'd been taken along by Zenya, and then that rainy day. The strong force that didn't let him consent or refuse, fingers digging into his flesh, hot breath on the nape of his neck, the incredibly cold palm of his hand. He wanted to escape, but couldn't. He was cornered relentlessly. His body, his mind.
Stop. Ooh.
Wow! Oh, that's a sloppy
Whoa.
kiss.
The kissu.
The kissu! The moment he tried to cry, his lips were blocked. At that instant, he didn't know what was happening to him. Gripped by an overbearing fever, he finally understood. But in the time he was taken aback, he'd forgotten about resistance. Placing his lips against Yuji several times, Tetsuo bit his lower lip. A shiver ran down his back. The tip of his tongue ran over his lower lip as if it were attacking while pursing.
Haha!
Unintentionally sighing out, his cheeks grew hot. Even though he tried to turn his head away to get away, Tetsuo grabbed his chin and kissed him again. Tetsuo's hand moved to the back of his head, pushing their lips together closer still. His tongue traced again and again over his teeth. For some reason, his will to resist faded. On the contrary, the center of his mind grew numb, feeling comfort even in this indiscretion. Maybe the rumor that he went through girls one after another was true. In the corner of his mind, he pondered things like that.
Kuhaga.
The surface of Ruff's lips were wet with each other's saliva, sticking gently. Breathing grew painful, head turning to catch his breath. Trying to fill even that small gap in time, Tetsuo's tongue lipped inside his mouth.
I wonder if those rumors about Tetsuo being gay are true.
Feeling its wetness, goosebumps ran down his back. Tetsuo's curled tongue prodded and caressed Yuji's. However, yes, it was non-consensual. However, consider the fact that there might be some sort of parasite in Tetsuo, perhaps driving him to do these things. Driving them to come together. Maybe they're all being raped by these parasites. It's still not okay.
I can see what you're going for. There are some nice moments, but they're kind of overshadowed by the parasite raping.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of when going into this game, I knew that there was some sort of parasite thing involved, and that's sort of what interested me in it, like the idea of these two people being drawn together irresistibly and they don't know why, and they're just confused, and it turns out to be like this weird fucking parasite thing. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Feeling its wetness, goosebumps ran down his back. Tetsuo's curled tongue prodded and caressed at Yuji's. With those gentle motions, Soon the strength disappeared from his stiffened body. His fear of Tetsuo was waning as well. Even though he'd been so afraid. Until now he'd helplessly complied with his body's desires as they ran wild. But now it wasn't like that. He felt relieved, wrapped in Tetsuo's scent and as their body temperatures meeting. It was strange. Even though he and Tetsuo were both men.
Men.
When he felt disgust and resistance, he still...
Oh, mic broke.